Welcome to The Pulse with me, Daniel Dazi. In our headlines, Director General of Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma-Abuaji, reveals that his organization is facing some logistical constraints with reagents for testing. We hear more from him and understand from those testing themselves what those constraints mean for your test results. Three days of voter registration and 5 arrests already. We bring you updates on the EC's compilation of a new voter register and speak to the expert about how security can be maintained. Also, a joint security team deployed into the Oti region, specifically at the Keti border outpost in the Jazikan district, has destroyed a newly constructed footbridge linking Ghana to Togo. All this and more, including more tributes coming in for the late former MPP General Secretary, Sir John. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us. My name is Daniel Dazi. Now, the Ghana Health Service has revealed there are logistical challenges with COVID-19 tests. Director General Dr. Patrick Kuma-Abuaji said this morning that the challenges had accounted for the delay in test results. Now, we have received numerous complaints about how COVID-19 test results take weeks in times to come back, and Dr. Abuaji's revelation finally begins to bring some clarity to this issue. Now, we will spend some more time on this today and understand it better, but first, let's get an update on Ghana's case count from Dr. Abuaji.
Recorded 18,630 positive cases, with a total recovery of 14,046. The current reported death is 117, accounting for 0.63% of the positives, with an active case of 4,467. These people are being managed at the treatment sites, isolations, and at home management, depending on the situation. Home management comes in if you do not have a comorbidity, if you have a that is suitable for self-isolation, and that you don't have any symptoms. Or you have most mild symptoms that can be managed at home. Currently, we have 22 cases who are severe condition, 8 are critical with 6 on ventilators. Total number of 496 new cases were reported from 50 districts from 10 regions. This is in contrast to last presentation where we had from 41 districts and 9 regions. Greater Accra remains the region with the highest new cases, out of 209 cases from 18 out of the 28 districts in Greater Accra. Ashanti follows with 158 new cases in 8 districts, 11 districts. Bono East has 35 new cases from 4 districts. Eastern Region, 27 new cases in 5 districts. Afo has 18 new cases in 1 district. This is a localized outbreak. Western has 17 new cases also in 1 district. Powers reported 14 new cases in 5 districts. Central 10 cases in 2 districts. Water had 2 in 2 districts, and Western North had 3 from 1 district. Upper East, Northern Northeast, Otibo, and Savannah did not report any positives as yesterday.
So this is where we are in terms of case count, 496 new cases in 24 hours. But Dr. Patrick Abuaji is asking people who have taken the COVID-19 test to self-isolate until their results are out. He said this after revealing the nation is currently facing logistical challenges, hence the issue of late announcement of test results.
Yes, we have experienced some delays in the lab. That's because we had a few logistical challenges. The laboratory requires a lot of, for PCR, reagents, prepares, all manner of, apart from the test kits. It's a global scramble for them. So even sometimes when you have money, you don't always have one. But we know that by end of this weekend, we are having a consignment arriving, and so hopefully next week we'll start ramping up the test and reduce the delay. But our idea is that if there's a cause to take your sample, you are supposed to isolate yourself. If there's any reason to take your sample, it means that you are potentially positive. Until you hear your results, please try as much as possible to self-isolate. If the facility feels strongly that you might not self-isolate, they will actually have quarantine in isolation rooms waiting for your results. And so it's unfortunate, but we are working very hard to ensure that all the necessary logistics are brought in for us to get the labs running and doing. By saying that ideally within 48 hours you should get your results. We are still working towards getting the necessary resources to ensure that we are able to deliver within 48 hours.
Right, so let's spend a bit of time on this one. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, is with us, and we'll also be speaking to a senior research fellow at the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, our foremost testing facility, Dr. Kofi Boni. Good morning, gentlemen. Good afternoon, gentlemen, pardon me. Right, okay, so let's begin with you, Dr. Boni. This morning, Dr. Abuaji mentioned that we have some constraints in terms of logistics. Can you explain that a bit further for us from where you sit at Noguchi?
Yeah, so, I mean, if you recall, Daniel, you know, for the past few months, or let's say few weeks, some other laboratories were rolled in to also help with the testing. But it got to a time where they realized that they can't keep up because what we call the reagents and also the consumables that we use for the testing ran short for them, basically. So those who came to support and all that. So they have to more or less roll up, and the areas that were assigned to them now have to come back to Noguchi again. So basically, we ran out of logistics for, I mean, those that were being provided by Ghana Health Service to these facilities that joined, ran out of them, so they have to roll up, and Noguchi have to then come back again. Noguchi also depends on Ghana Health Service, but because it's also a research institute, usually gets support from other departments within the institute with some of these consumables and reagents. So even if the stock from Ghana Health Service is not available readily, they can depend or get some from these other departments to continue with the testing. So when they get it from the Ghana Health Service, then they just put them back. So that is why the Noguchi is still going, but some of these other institutes or laboratories that joined have to roll up because they run short of logistics. Basically, they are consumables and reagents that they use for the testing.
So, Dr. Boni, does it mean that currently the Ghana Health Service is not able to provide these consumables and logistics for even Noguchi?
I thought the minister just made it clear. Even if you have money now, it takes some time for you to get the needed reagents and consumables that you need. It's worldwide, people are all scrambling for these same reagents and consumables. So it takes some time for them to come in. We've been assured that in the next week or so, some will come in. So basically, that is what it is. It's not that Ghana Health Service is not. I think they have made orders of procurement, but we are yet to receive them. And if we promise that maybe next week or from next week, some of them will come in. So we are waiting for them.
So what's our current capacity, Dr. Bonnie? Are we able to put a number on it?
For now, we cannot put. We are still receiving in the range of 2,500 to around 3,500 samples on a daily basis. It's like a processing chain. We running the samples or processing from the initial stages is easy to do. We can just work on them to a stage where we call the extraction and the PCR stage. That is where we'll get a backlog, because we can work on all the samples. You come to our cold rooms, you will not see physical samples there, but you still have backlogs, because some of the stages we cannot push it forward anymore, because we are either the machines that we have, there are 4 for Noguchi, we are running them 24/7. But we have a lot to put in there because other labs have brought theirs. So though we have cleared what we call the physical samples as backlog, we now have backlogs within stages of our processing unit. So we have backlog between extraction and PCR. And that's why we are trying to get them cleared, because of the numbers that we are getting in. But Ghana Health Service, well, they are doing their best by giving us what they have, and also assuring us that what they have procured will be with us in due course.
So what's the size of the current backlog? Can you tell us that?
We have about 7,000 to around 8,000 samples in there that are yet to be cleared.
And over which period have these samples accumulated?
With the period, we work on daily basis. So every day we move some along, and new ones come in. So it's difficult to define or to make a definitive case for a period. So we can say that for the past week, it has not gone up and it has not reduced drastically. We maintain that number between 6,000, 7,000 samples in that range, in that stage of processing.
Okay. So if I'm to understand you, you are still completing tests, but there's always a lag of about some 7,000 to 8,000 samples that have not been completed yet.
That's correct. So we are completing tests every day, but there's always that lag of samples. Another thing too is that we are working on clinical samples, but we have priority samples that come in. So assuming we are doing our routine schedule of trying to clear the lag, if, for example, in a day we have about 200 samples as priority, either hospital emergencies or sometimes maybe from top hierarchy positions, maybe ministers, parliament and all that, and they really want the results as early as possible, then we have to stop what we are doing, then attend to them. So some of these things also bring in the delays. So it's not only the normal routine work that we're doing. Sometimes we have these ones, I will not call them distractions, but more or less it also brings in some delays. We call them priority samples or emergency or urgent samples. We have to attend to them. And that will have to mean that you have to stop your routine testing and pay attention to them, and that will delay you. So basically, these are some of the other reasons that we have. So, then another thing that is also very important is that, for the month of June, we had a lot of positives. So we were doing what we call, before June, we were doing the pooling that I think we have spoken about it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the month of June, because of the number of positives that we are having, we have to stop the pooling. For pooling, it is very prudent to do pooling where we have less positives. I mean, when the prevalence is low. But where we have a high number of positives, it will not be very prudent for you to be doing pooling. So for some time now, we have stopped doing pooling. So it also accounts for this lag, because assuming we're doing the pooling, it would have been going faster than what we've been doing now. Now we are doing individual samples, so it will take some time for us to clear that backlog that we have in that processing line, that PCR extraction stage.
It's interesting, Doc, because I had actually written down here that research had indicated that pool testing is for a positivity rate of below 5%, and we've crossed that. So I'd actually noted to ask if you were still doing pooled testing. It's good to know you're not anymore, and if I may ask, at what point specifically did we decide that we are not going to do pool testing? At what point in June?
You know, we stopped doing pooling, I think, at the first week in June, when we realized that we were getting a lot of positives. If you do pooling, we have to do on pooling. So if we are on pooling so many, then you know that we are not good, we are not in for good business. That means we have to do a lot of more work and spend more reagents. So we stopped, I think, at the first week of June. So since then, we have been doing individual samples. We've not been doing the pooling again.
Dr. Bonnie, please hold on just a moment for me. We've been joined by Fred Smith, the head of our health desk, who is currently receiving treatment from COVID-19. Fred, good afternoon. I have to ask, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, Daniel. I'm doing very well.
That's great. Now, actually, so this morning we were speaking on Prime Morning, and you made a point that really stuck with me about how, I want you to explain it for us again. How does the delay in test results coming to you affect you personally? I mean, you tested positive. How did that delay in receiving your results affect you?
Well, when I took the test, I was confident I was going to come out negative. But unfortunately, I received my results about 10 days later, and it showed I was positive. Throughout that period, I mean, I didn't take the test because I had come into contact with anybody that I suspected could have had transferred or, passed on the virus to me. I did it as a precaution because the multimedia group decided to test everybody to be sure who has contracted, who hasn't. And mine was positive. 2 other persons that I was in a vehicle. In fact, 2 people joined me to the testing center. We were all in our masks, and all of them are also positive. I don't know at what point I became positive. And between the day of the test and when my results came, I was still working. I had interviewed a number of people, including the Foreign Affairs Minister, the Deputy Health Minister, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, and many others before the results came in on Monday, and it showed I was positive. I don't know who I have infected between the day I took the test and when my results came in. And that's what the delay is doing to us.
Fred, thanks so much for painting that picture in a very clear manner. I'd go back to Dr. Bonnie now and ask how long, because Dr. Abuaji explained that this delay is because of this situation you're explaining to us, that even though we have the money, we can't get the reagents to buy. And so there's a bit of a delay in there. At the moment, what would you say is the average amount of time it takes for you to get back a test result after you receive a sample? Is it 3 days? Is it 2 days? How long? Right, Dr. Bonnie.
For the question.
I was asking, pardon me, I was asking how long in your estimation?
I think I got a question.
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, when we started, we were doing 2 to 3 days. And we are still doing that. But, when you take a sample, usually the samples that come to us, they come from the health directorates. It could be maybe Wejagbawe Health Directorate, it could be Lang Kwantanan and all that. And these are the people who take the samples, and the results are sent to them, sent to the directors. So if your sample is taken and you require to know your results, you see, you don't wait. Sometimes they have a lot of them, they have a lot on their hands. So you don't wait for them to maybe get back to you in a week or so. If after about 3 days you are not getting, if you make a call to them, oh, please, my sample was taken this time and all that, do I have any response or do I have any feedback? But people usually wait for them to be called, or they wait after a long time when they are not hearing anything, and then they come complaining that they've done this test and after a month or so they are not getting. I think that's not right. Results, samples that are sent to us by health directorates, results are sent to the health directors. So people should just go back to them and ask them for their results. You only come to Noguchi where we have issues. Maybe the health director is not getting the results and all that, then you come to us and we find out why the delay, then we try and sort people out. But for now, we are still doing 2 to 3 days. We are not doing anything more than that.
I find that interesting, Dr. Bonnie, because Fred is not the only person I know who has tested and has not received did not receive their results within the 3 days. In fact, I know so many people who tested, and after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, they keep calling us and asking what's the problem with their test results. So does it mean that from you, it gets to the health directorate and that's where the delay comes?
Yeah, so Daniel, all those people that you are talking about, I don't know how they inquire about their results. In the first place, where they do the testing, did they go to a testing center, or are their samples taken by other people who are, maybe let's say they are working with some health directorates and all that? If they do that, then where do they go? There's a comment on them to go back to those same people to collect their results, or to call them to get their results. That is what we say. If there are, I know where we have instances where we have had delays, which are genuine ones. Either samples were not taken properly, that we get back to them to get us new samples, or there were issues with the samples that were brought in when we're doing the processing. Then we always get back to them to get them. So those ones, they delay. Yes, we admit that. But for Noguchi, we try to meet the 2 to 3 days time that we have given to people. So we always try. Yes, we have backlogs, but we try to do that. If for some reason your samples are delayed and all that, and you get back to us, come to us, and we check, and it is a genuine case. Maybe either something happened, we didn't see your sample early, or it was not brought in. We do those investigations and we rectify it. But we try to do the 2 to 3 days that we've always told people about.
So Fred, let me quickly come to you, because I'd like our viewers to have an understanding of the management process. So who contacted you to let you know that you were positive? I know that you took the test as part of the mandatory test organized by this institution, Multimedia, but who contacted you and who managed that process, Fred?
Well, I had a call from a staff of the Ghana Health Service. So I presume they are part of the case management team. They called me and told me what my situation was and what I needed to do. And I followed that instruction, and this person made me aware that they were working closely with the management of the multimedia group since they organized the testing. And since then, I've also had calls from the HR and other officials at the multimedia group, helping me to, to get back.
Okay, so I think, Dr. Bonnie, it's in line with what you were telling us, that the general management, especially the interface between the person being tested, is the Ghana Health Service. So there are a few questions to answer on that regard. We want to thank you so much, Dr. Bonnie, for joining us. And
but Daniel,
Fred.
Yes. So this positive test is actually the second I have taken since the outbreak of COVID.
Okay.
I took a first test, which also took about a week to get a result. That particular test happened at the Achimota Hospital. So I was referred there by the Greater Accra region head of the case management team. And so this is a very highly placed person who could get things done easily. I was expecting my results in. I wasn't sick, I wasn't exposed in any way, but I needed to do that so I could return to work. It took 1 whole week. I called almost every day after the test. It still took 1 week, even with the protocol.
Yeah, and Dr. Bonnie was telling us about this phenomenon called priority sampling, which, you know, it's quite unclear, but...
Daniel,
yeah.
Daniel, can I just say a word before maybe you... You know, we have the strong evidence, scientific evidence that, I mean, if you are asymptomatic, I mean, there's no chance of you transmitting. So for your colleague, that is first situation where he walked in or his sample was taken at the time that he was not showing any symptoms and he tested positive. That is, he's asymptomatic. Yes, fine. But then he's not possibly going to transmit. You can have the virus being asymptomatic, but that doesn't mean that you'll be able to share the virus or transmit the virus to others. It is only when you start showing any of the flu-like symptoms, coughing and all that, that you have to maybe stay at home, try to be away from others so that you don't pass on the virus to other people. So for this case, yes, he was asymptomatic, but it doesn't mean that going to work and all that you'll be sharing the virus.
I have read an article that suggests what you're saying, but I remember very well that the WHO scientist who gave the interview said that the sample space they used in that research was quite small, so she would be careful in giving that as an omnibus conclusion. Dr. Bonnie, is that the case? Yes,
but I mean, new evidence has come out that strongly supports that they've done so many. I mean, they've brought in so many people and tried to see if the asymptomatics can transmit, and they don't have that concrete evidence. Okay. They don't have that concrete. In fact, when it started, we all thought that was the case, but now they are disproving that particular that view that we had initially. So I'll be careful to say that, yes, they are still doing more on that. But we shouldn't make it a rule that now I'm taking the test, I'm not showing symptoms. So then I have to, stay away and all that. Yes, it's good to stay away when you are sick. But for me, I'm thinking we should try and go with the new evidence that is coming up. Though it's not enough, and more are coming out. But I think that it is more credible than before or than what we were thinking at first.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kofi Bonnie.
Dr. Bonnie,
Senior Research
Dr. Bonnie, then in that case, I have a question to ask.
Right, Fred, keep that in 30 seconds for us, Fred.
I'm also eligible, and I'd like to take advantage of this and register myself. But because of my situation, I've decided not to step out. Is it the case that because I'm asymptomatic, I can go out and get myself registered?
Yes, but you are going out, you are going to be in the midst of others. So, the protocols still hold. You have to wear your mask and make sure that social distancing is observed. That's fine, because you go there, people who are there, some of them may be coughing and all that. So you wear your mask and ensure social distancing. Right. All the other protocols, you have to observe them. Right. That's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Fred Smith is the head of our health desk here at Joy, and Dr. Kofi Bonnie is a senior research fellow at Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. That's the foremost test center for COVID-19 in the country. They're still live on The Pulse with me, Daniel Dazi. Now, still on COVID, the Ghana Medical Association had called for reintroduction of restrictions. What is government's position?
In terms of the possibility of reintroduction of restrictions, I think we have always said that all cards are on the table. All cards remain on the table. His Excellency the President, in the earlier announcement to ease some of the restrictions, mentioned that this was phased easing, which will be observed, and then depending on the lessons or the outcomes, decisions on the next steps will be taken. So all cards remain on the table. as the analysis goes on of how we have complied with these, may I say, bits of the thing, it will inform the next line of action. Should it be a reimposition of some restrictions in some areas or generally, or should it be that easing, will be all determined by the outcomes as we observe them moving forward.
Now, the Drapa Community Health Nursing Training College has embarked on a mass collection of samples of all final year students and staff of the college for testing for COVID-19. Principal of the college, Haruna Tira, said it is as a result of 5 students who returned to the school with abnormal temperatures. The 5 suspected students are now under self-isolation. This was revealed when the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Saleh, visited the college as part of his tour of tertiary and second cycle institutions to assess the level of compliance to COVID-19 protocols. JoyNews' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Drapa.
Briefing Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Saleh on measures adopted by the Yoruba Community Health Nursing Training College to contain the spread of the coronavirus, Principal of the college, Haruna Tira, stated that they are forced to take samples of all students and staff after 5 of the students returned to the college with abnormal temperatures.
This exercise we met here is a sample collection exercise, and we are doing it in response to some 5 students we suspected on the day of arrival when we called them back. Because when temperatures are around 39, 40, 41, these become suspects. You pick their samples. We have done that. And then 14 days after we reopened, we saw the need to test the general student population, including the staff. And I wrote to the municipal director. We got the approval, and then we are doing that exercise today. We are almost done with the entire school and the staff. We are about 134, 97 students, final years, 34 staff. We are done with about 117, so we are left with some few others to finish with.
The 5 students have since been isolated from the general student body and given rooms of their own.
We have identified a center in the hospital, but for now, we have given them rooms, individual rooms on campus.
So they are individually
in rooms. We have kept them, and we gave them.
So they are in self-isolation.
Yes. Then we gave them the N95 nose mask, which is most efficient. Today is almost 16 days after we have reopened, and we haven't found anything adverse. We have not seen anything that is most likely matching with the case definition. We are hoping that everything will be normal. And when we receive results of the other 5 students we suspected earlier, then we'll know our fate and to enforce more of the protocols.
Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Saleh was at the college as part of his tour of tertiary and second cycle institutions in the Upper West region to assess the level of compliance of the various health safety protocols following the directive by the President for them to reopen. He commended the students and staff of the Yoruba Community Health Nursing Training College for adhering to the safety health protocols.
It is proper and appropriate that once you have assembled here, you need to abide by all the safety protocols. Your lives are precious. Please do not take anything for chance. Do not take anything for granted. The condition here is conducive for studies. Please do not engage in any unnecessary activity. The principal aim of your being here right now is to study, and come out with flying colors.
Dr. bin Saleh earlier visited the Dodoro Queen of Peace Senior High, Yoruba Senior High, and Brookfield Senior High schools, where he interacted with the final year students and staff. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam, Yoruba.
As live on The Pulse with me, Daniel Dazi. We'll take a few messages now. When we come back, We'll be speaking to Colonel Festus Abwaje, retired. Colonel Abwaje will be giving us his analysis on the security situation when it comes to the registration of voters in the past couple of days. Like I said, 3 days, 5 arrests already. We'll be in Accra, we'll be in Kumasi, then we'll analyze. Stay with us. You're live on The Pulse here on the JoyNews channel. My name is Daniel Dazi. Now, government has some concerns about the ongoing voter registration exercise. Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma had this to say.
As the voters registration exercise has started, and as we observe the exercise, there are many places in which EC officials and security and persons who are registering are doing their best to comply with the social distancing protocols. They are doing that by arranging chairs that have been distanced properly. But there are also many other areas in which it is obvious. From, for example, some of the pieces of footage that you are capturing, people are not observing the social distance protocols. We want to reiterate, security, electoral commission officials, and citizens, we all have a collective responsibility to observe these protocols even as we go about this registration process.
Let's now speak to security expert Colonel retired Festus Abwaje. So, Colonel Abwaje, you have seen both of the incidents, 5 arrests in 3 days. Is that a high number? Should we be concerned?
Well, thank you once again, Daniel. Can you hear me?
Yes, the internet connection may have slipped off a bit, but you're clear. Go ahead.
All right. My understanding of the architecture for the registration is that in total we're going to have about 33,367. But these are distributed into phases. So if clusters, if a cluster consists of 5, then my understanding is that currently there are about 6,670 plus centers that are operational across the country. So given the number of incidents that we've had, even if all the incidents were at the same place or different places, I think we can reasonably say that by and large, the process has been peaceful. But having said that, we should have expected that there were going to be incidents bordering around the compliance with the COVID protocols, which is also a serious matter, as well as some of the issues that have come up, whether assisting persons to fill in the registration forms that might be construed by some other observers as actually registering those persons, or the positioning of the equipment, which according to the EC, when she addressed us on Monday, she was very categorical that the furniture, the staff, the equipment will be positioned in the open of all the different places, whether it's a church or school. I think there has been one episode where you just said that some of the equipment and the staff are inside the building. There's some of these violations on the part of individuals, on the part of the EC, for instance, give rise to what I call avoidable incidents. But to the extent that we've not had any violent confrontation, and just a few altercations among individuals, as well as individuals with the security personnel, as well as with the EC, I think we can say that the process has been going on very well.
Right, Colonel, so you mentioned that one of the issues of concern will be the COVID-19 protocols. I remember interviewing the NCCE chair, and she mentioned that we should also rely on the security officials in ensuring that the EI 164, for instance, is applied. Would you agree that this wanton disregard for the safety protocols should also be laid at the doorstep of security officials?
You see, part of the problem that we're having with regards to compliance with the COVID-19 protocols is that we as a people are in denial of our culture. So we mentioned that elections are taking place in South Korea, in Poland, and therefore by extension, we can go ahead with registration and elections in Ghana. Knowing very well that the behavior, the cultural behavior, and the attitudes of South Koreans vis-a-vis Poles or Polish vis-a-vis Ghanaians are completely different. Therefore, we should have expected of the EC, which is the electoral management body, to have demarcated the positions, not only within the enclosure, but to have estimated that if we're going to register, let's say, 600, 800 people, and they are to spread out at any one particular time, assuming all 800 are there, they are to spread out at 1 meter distances. They should have marked all those positions. Indeed, some of the exercises that we've seen elsewhere, they have used barriers, you see, and actually marked boxes. Not to have done that is a failure on the part of the EC. You see, to lay the blame on Ghanaians, that Ghanaians are not complying with the protocol, is actually what I'm saying is to be in self-denial, because we know that we as Ghanaians wouldn't comply. So therefore, does it mean that we must allow individuals to do whatever it is that they are looking for? Having said that, the police and the other security services also have a role to play in managing the separation or the spacing between individuals. See, I don't think we have had problems with the hand washing, for instance. I don't think so. As long as the buckets and the water and the soap and the tissues are there, I think people are complied together with the sanitizer. The issue has largely been with the congestion, the closeness of persons in the queue and others attempting to jump the queue. They are not, elderly or persons with disability and so on. It's still very early days yet. Today is day 3. There is still room. Because we're going to go on until, I think, early August, to try and fix all of these issues.
Yeah, and that was actually the next question I was going to ask. What do we do now? Thank you so very much for touching on that. But I want to find out what you think about a dispute resolution within this process. The issue at the University of Ghana Registration Center is something that looks like a misunderstanding between, unsatisfied parties. Similar to Asawase, we saw something like that happen at Odododio, where registration centers were not there when they should have been there. And the level of mistrust and tension in the system, how do we put protocols down, Colonel, that will ensure that peace will prevail no matter which misunderstanding comes up?
Well, first of all, I would suppose that within the IPAC framework, the EC would have engaged the major stakeholders, i.e. the political parties, and then within the framework of the training that the EC rolled out, together with the education by NCC and so on, all of these issues should have been thoroughly explained. That if EC says that ballot boxes will be positioned outside of school buildings or school rooms, that EC will use its own furniture. Come Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday today, we should have seen EC's own furniture. What we are seeing in the media is not EC's own furniture. So any citizen can raise a challenge to the EC that why have you positioned yourself inside a building? That is not a conflict. I mean, it's a conflict, but it's not a violent dispute. And the EC must accommodate those kinds of, interaction. Secondly, every citizen, an individual who is in that vicinity, has a civic duty to engage with others to try and maintain decorum. And therefore, as individuals belonging to political parties, they also have some responsibility and some leverage to call persons to order or to engage the EC that certain procedures must be realigned. There's nothing wrong with that. You see, but the nature of us is that sometimes we want to operate outside of the law. I don't want to mention names, but this gentleman who keeps saying that anybody can go and register anywhere actually is creating problems. If anybody can register anywhere, then all of us could have come to Accra to register. So it's absolutely wrong that you should register where you nominally reside. So if there are persons who are raising issues about court, if I may use that word, into those areas to register, they have a right to raise that observation. You see, that it shouldn't result in any physical exchanges.
Okay.
But the lack of understanding of the electoral laws themselves, I think, is part of the problem that we're encountering.
Colonel Festus Abuaje, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on The Pulse. Some of the incidents that have occurred over the past couple of days, and we know that some political party representatives had raised concerns about the location where biodata of potential voters were being captured. They had alleged unqualified persons were using unauthorized means to get access to the place. Now, 2 people were eventually picked up by the Legon police after a disagreement degenerated into a scuffle. Maxwell Agbagba has more.
Happening right here at the University of Ghana Mental Saba Hall Registration Center. What is happening is that this gentleman has just been picked up by the police. He's been taken away. There were some disagreements with the person who was coming to guarantee, for. Now the police officers have picked him up. We really want to understand what the issue is. He wanted to guarantee. Well, it looks like it's going to be a standoff between the police and then this gentleman. We really want to find out. Hello, sir. Okay. There's some disagreements here at the University of Ghana Mental Saba Hall Registration Center. These police officers from the Legon police station are trying to pick up the gentleman to the police station, but the men here disagree. They are pulling him away. We really want to understand what the issue is here at the University of Ghana Mental Saba. What's the issue? What's the issue? Okay, so we really want to understand what the issue is here. Some stand up between the police and some of the people here. You are beating me. It's the University of Ghana Mensa Saba Hall Registration Center. There was a disagreement in there. The gentleman who's been carried away was trying to guarantee for one of the people who had come here to register. Let's try and get some word from him. Chief, what's the issue? What's the issue?
Oh, Maza.
What's the issue?
That's the issue as a policeman. Ask him.
No, what happened, sir?
Man, quiet. Oh, quiet.
Okay, so you've been taken away. We're trying to understand, what the issue is. Hello, you're the JCR president here, right?
He's not the JCR president.
You're the former JCR.
He's a former JCR president.
Let's get closer.
He's done with school.
Oh, Masha.
He's a former JCR president.
Max,
me, I don't understand.
Okay.
You're an
hold
card bearer.
Hold on.
What are you talking about JCR?
Where do I know you from? I don't know you from anywhere.
Hold on. Okay, so you're the former JCR president here.
Yes,
what's your name?
My name is Pius Beidu.
Pius, what happened?
Yeah, I think the issue has to be with the fact that the EC is, doing the cards inside the Christian reading room and not outside where everybody will see. That has been the bone of contention. I think this morning when I came, I've received complaints from both party agents that, if possible, they have to bring the machine outside so that everybody will see it. Here at the first polling station, that is the arrangement. The machine is outside. Once you are in the queue, you would see that after you fill your form, they will take care of you, they will take your picture and everything. So I think that has been a bone of contention. But as to the melee and the fracas going on there, I can't speak to it because I wasn't really there.
And that was at the University of Ghana in Legon. Let's go to Asawase, where 3 NDC branch executives are in police grips over breach of the voter registration exercise. The 3 are alleged to have been in possession of voluminous registration forms in an attempt to register applicants on the sideline of the main registration process. They were arrested on Tuesday at Mamponhine Registration Center at Akwitia Line. Municipal Security Director Ali Duseidu told Love News the 3 suspects are in police custody pending investigation and further court arraignment. Alaji Seidu admonished the young people to desist from being used by politicians.
I was informed about the arrest yesterday that they were holding some forms that have been prepared allegedly by our opponents. But these are some of the things. If someone says people are being buzzed from different areas, why these forms? Because we have not prepared any forms. Whoever sees any form of a document of that nature in any of our agents, he should get him arrested. That means that we are on a clean sheet as far as this matter is concerned. Because if someone stays within Asokore Manko, I don't think that someone from somewhere should write your name and your house number and any other information about you before you get yourself on the voter register. It means that, like I said earlier on, these are things that these opponents are planning to do, and they are doing it. And they've been doing it for a long time. They go to our neighboring constituencies to bring their people in to come and register. I am saying that the people of Asawase should be left to register, they should be left to vote. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you think should happen to you.
Now, NDC Communication Director for Asawase, Yakubu Tony Edu, who confirmed the 3 suspects are branch executives of the party, said plans are advanced to secure bail for the 3.
One of our organizers was there, so the constituency chairman and executive sent our organizer to go and bring them.
What exactly were they doing there?
I don't know, because that day I was not there. So I can't tell you whether it's true or not true, but they called me about the boys about 3 boys that arrested. So I don't know what is happening.
So have you been able to contact them?
No.
So what are you doing now?
No, as I tell you, my organizer is doing everything to solve the problem.
I understand they are filling forms and other...
No, it's not true. It's not true.
It's not true that?
It's not true.
That's what?
They are filling forms.
So
where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? Just like that. Well, you saw me at the police station and arresting me that I'm filling a form. Are they EC official? They are not the EC official. So why they are arresting our people?
So going forward, what are you going to do as a communication officer for this constituency to ensure these things does not happen again?
Still on the issue of security, a newly constructed footbridge has been destroyed at an unapproved route somewhere in the OT region. This was carried out by a joint security team deployed into that part of the country, specifically at the Kechi border outpost in the Jasikan district. Now, they destroyed a newly constructed footbridge linking Ghana to Togo. The development, we understand, has infuriated the Togolese counterparts who use the footbridge. They have threatened to deal with the security team in charge of the border outpost, who destroyed the unapproved access.
Any problem about that? No.
Looking at the way they ended, look at how they did it. That tells you that it is not only food. It's more money. It's not small money. It's not small
investment. This thing, even the nails alone from here to that.
Whoever finances, that's a good reason. Even if it is a cocoa buyer,
We can't buy because Ghana cocoa shouldn't go to Togo like that. You can't come and finance illegally. Look at cocoa farm.
Now, the footbridge in question appears, as you can see, to have been just constructed because of the freshness of the wood used. Now, our checks also reveal that some trees have been felled across the river, separating the two countries in order for migrants to get easy access. Now, the border security guards who spoke to us off camera explained this was necessary because of the inadequate hands to man the various porous points. Of course, I'm talking about the destruction of the bridge. They say the destruction of the bridge was necessary because they don't have so many people available to man the various points. Of course, we raised questions about the sustainability of this. How, for instance, how do we know, for instance, that they just don't go and construct it somewhere else, or they don't repair this bridge? And of course, they understood that there are key issues that we must be concerned with. That's all live on The Pulse with me, Daniel Daze. We'll go into some more politics after this. Now, quite the sad news, the Kwabre town of Sacral has been thrown into a state of mourning following the death of Chief Executive of Forestry Commission, Kojo Osefrie. Now, they describe him as an illustrious son of the town. Residents, both young and old, are not only seen clad in red and black, but also breaking down in uncontrollable wailing. They say the death of the late NPP General Secretary, a former General Secretary who is credited with providing the teeming youth in the community with employment, provision of street lights, and construction of roads and teachers' quarters, came as a shock. My colleague Ohiming Teria has been in Sacral community and he's been speaking to residents and the family. But first, let's take time to know who he was. Kojo Osefrie, also known as Sir John, former General Secretary of the NPP. He's also the current Chief Executive for the Forestry Commission. Great. Now, Kojo Osefrie was born in the Ashanti region of Ghana. He attended a Seventh-day Adventist Senior High School in Bekwai. Now, if you listen to Sir John, you know two things about him. You know he comes from Sacral in the Ashanti region. You also know he's a staunch member of the SDA. Perhaps this is where he found his roots, in Bekwai. He took his O-levels there, took his A-levels from Konongo Dumasi Senior High School in Konongo. He studied political science at the University of Ghana. He then went to the Ghana School of Law. He graduated with an LLB. So he's a lawyer. He was admitted as a solicitor and counsel for the Supreme Court of Ghana. He started private practice in 1981. Now, during the John Ejekum Kufuor administration, he was appointed head of legal services at the Ghana National Petroleum Commission. He was later made to act as the Deputy Chief Executive Officer for the corporation. Now, while managing his firm, Efrie was also actively engaged in Ghanaian politics. He served as the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party from 2010 to 2014. He lost his bid to secure a second term to Kwabena Ejapong in May 2017 while serving as the CEO of the Forestry Commission. He publicly declared that he would contest the New Patriotic Party General Secretary elections if there was an overwhelming call for him to do so. In March 2017, President Akufo-Addo appointed Efrie as CEO of Forestry Commission. He replaced Samuel Afari Date, whose term as the CEO has ended. His appointment was surprising to many Ghanaians because of the many rumors that he was linked to the position of the head of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. That position was given to Paul Asari Ansa. Efrie later revealed that the rumors were true, but he had rejected the appointment due to his fear of the sea. He thanked the president for the Forestry Commission appointment and believed that since he hailed from the forest zone of Ghana, he will be able to have a greater impact on the sea. Unfortunately, Efrie died on the 1st of July 2020 in Accra after testing positive for COVID-19. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Now let's listen to the nephew of Sir John, who describes him as a gem.
His memory will remain, and as I'm saying, Mr. Kojo also his generosity cannot be described. Anybody that comes to him, he opened his arms to everybody. When he became the CEO of Forestry Commission, a lot of the youth have gained employment under the Forestry Commission through the afforestation program, and also people who are in school, training colleges, and even those who cannot get food, whenever he is around and you go to him, he will give you something so that you and your family will not go to bed on an empty stomach.
Okay. So what will be the legacy of Mr. Osofriye as far as the entire Sacral community is concerned?
His legacy will be a lot, because if you are coming, he single-handedly burdened a hospital for the community. He supplied the Sacral community with street lights, and he's engineered the tiring of Sacral main roads and the entire streets. He's single-handedly doing it, and everybody in Sacral can attest to that fact. So his legacy is a lot, and the family and the community have lost a great person.
Now, you mentioned roads, for instance, and we do know that in this country, it is the government or the state that constructs roads. So why would you want to link Mr. Osofriye to this?
You see, the reason to him, through his contacts, that is why we got the contract to tie the Sacral main roads and all the streets in the town, and also the provision of street lights. It is through the contacts, the people that he knew, and he contacted them to come and help this community, and that is why we are linking him to these projects.
I see. So in short, if you are to summarize the achievement of Mr. Osofriye for Sacral mine, what will be the summary?
In summary, I will say that we are in shock. We don't know what to say now, and we are praying to God to strengthen the family and the entire community, and also we plead with the government to also come in to help the community. I'm hopeful that this project will not be abandoned. I'm hopeful that it will not be abandoned. So that is our plea, that the government will continue the good works that our uncle started for the people of Sacral.
Give us some background, the life of Mr. Osofriye. We know where was he born? Can you help us through his educational history and all that?
I know that my uncle was born here. My uncle attended the local primary school, and in those days, model school. So he has his MSLEC. And then from there, he proceeded to Bekwai SDA Secondary School. From there, he had his sixth form at Konongo Dumasi Secondary School. From there, he went to Legon to do law. That is all that I know for now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Safo Edu Bernard. He's a nephew of the late Mr. Osofriye.
Now, it was a sad atmosphere at the Forestry Commission as workers there reported to work some hours after the death of Kojo Osofriye, popularly known as Sir John. Maxwell Akbakba was there, and later at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, where he has been speaking to two persons who worked closely with him.
Flags here at the Forestry Commission are flying at half-mast, signifying the death of the man affectionately called Sir John. Well, where I'm standing is his usual parking spot just behind me, where you have the red bandana fixed, to the gate. That is where he usually parks his car. But today, that spot is empty. The only person you can see there is the security man here. Now, behind me, right at the top, that is where his office is, and this is where Sir John would usually sit on a normal day to facilitate the work here at the Forestry Commission. But today, that office is empty. All the people who have been walking in here to the Forestry Commission today, many of them are in mourning clothes. Some of them I spoke to earlier told me that they heard the news on their various WhatsApp platforms, work-related WhatsApp platforms. A gentleman who I spoke to earlier told me that he slept very early yesterday. So this morning, sometime around 5 a.m., he took his phone to check his WhatsApp group, work-related WhatsApp groups, and that was where he saw the news about the death of the chief executive officer, his own boss. A lot of the trees here, the lamppost here, faced with a red band signifying the grief here currently. Authorities here and the workers here would not speak to us. They say they are waiting to officially hear from the family before they can grant any interviews. A lot of the workers are also dumbfounded. A cloud of grief hangs around this place. Kwejo Owusu-Efriye, popularly known as Sir John, made incalculable contributions to the new patriotic party. Two people who worked closely with him have been eulogizing him. Anthony Abe-Fakabo says it's irreplaceable.
This is a man who dedicated, over 30 years of his life to virtually working to see this party in power. And he's a people's man. I mean, all the good things that are supposed to be said about Sir John, in fact, that was public. That's his lifestyle. I mean, we will remember him for some of the very interesting comments that he will make, his understanding of grassroots politics, and he was actually the champion of the ordinary people on the street. We've really lost a soldier. We've really lost a man who was going to actually inspire most of us, as we prepared for the 2020 election. He was heartbeat that, surely his friend, his compatriot, Nana Akufo-Addo, the president, will win the elections, hands down. And we've lost such a great guy. I mean, it's so difficult to accept that we don't have him anymore. And at Forestry Commission, I just went to him a few weeks before the primaries. And we had issues. He had to deal with them. He dealt with them. He walked me through his office, went down to his secretary, saw me to my car before I left. This is the type of man we're talking about. The NPP has really lost an irreplaceable material. We can't imagine that we don't have Sir John going into this major battle for us. But we will win this battle for him. We'll surely win this election for him.
Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister and former International Affairs Director of the NPP, Charles Uredu, has also been eulogizing Sir John.
New Patriotic Party. I've had that personal experience, working with Sir John. I was the Director of International Affairs when Sir John was the General Secretary of the party. And as his right-hand man, in terms of dealing with our external branches, also in terms of being the main point of call, when it comes to our relations with diplomatic community. I had that, constant interaction with him, and he was a very kind person, at heart, ready to help, and it's a big loss. When I got the news yesterday that this has happened, I was, wow, somebody who really believed in the party, somebody who was ready to help party people. When he was appointed the CEO of the Forestry Commission, anytime I visited him, he saw scores of party people, who were ready to be assisted by Sir John. And he didn't, discriminate. He helped the NPP people, even those in the NDC, he helped some. I think that is a great loss to the party. Sir John is irreplaceable.
Now, across the political divide, the news of Sir John's death has shocked many to the core, with several tributes pouring in since last night. Let's start with President Akufo-Addo's message posted on Facebook, and it reads, "I received the news of the death of Kwejo Owusu-Efriye, aka Sir John, with great shock and deep sadness. Indeed, the disbelief and grief expressed by many at the news of his death are testimony to how people in and out of the NPP felt about him. Passionate devotee of the Dankwa Buzia Domo political tradition, outstanding stalwart of the NPP, strong defender of human rights as a lawyer, proud, faithful adherent of the Christian Adventist faith. These were the multifaceted aspects of the career and character of Sir John, which earned him considerable renown both as erstwhile General Secretary of the NPP and CEO of the Forestry Commission. Energetic, brilliant, jovial, with an exceptional sense of humor, and possessing a limitless store of folk tales and proverbs, he affected positively every person with whom he came into contact. He was truly unforgettable, and our party and government owe him an immense debt for his work and commitment. Now, on his part, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia wrote this on Facebook. He says, I've learned with the sadness the passing of lawyer Kojo Osuefriye, aka Sir John, former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party and Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission. I spoke with Sir John only yesterday, but little did I know that that was our last conversation. Sir John was a good man who truly paid his dues to the party and Ghana. I will miss him. My heartfelt condolences to his family. Rest in peace, my good friend. Very, very unfortunate death there. Now, Parliament has eulogized the late NPP General Secretary Kojo Osuefriye as Majority Leader Osteche Mensah, who tells the public to use the death of the Forestry Commission CEO as a testimony for the existence and threat of COVID-19. The former General Secretary of the NPP lost his life yesterday to the disease at Kolebu. In a brief statement on the floor, minority leaders and the Speaker took turns to mourn with the family of the late Sir John. We will bring details in our subsequent bulletins, but here are some fond memories of Sir John.
Well, during our time, we did not, have, the real date of birth, as it were, and I believe that my date of birth was written somewhere in some pencil on a wall, which is now completely, eroded. And so we've tried to find out how old we are. It's very difficult to tell.
Sadumno, obisi the work for one trouble. Now the power no more not to say Nana do down kwani epe one abisi akoko trouble no. Share redam ball. More dead. Calipono symbolic. Akufado. Adie bi obeso mu biara eyeye. Say John Muhammad koto Calipo no me ya. I'm telling you the Calipo can't talk. A tell says a go for the bar and near my best son. And you my dead, grandma bad dead. Mam and not a bedroom. It is a Yadibia Ukuma. Yabenum Calipo and Yamanum Biana pay. Yabenum.
You want to serve the country, your country at the highest level. And I think that the only place that you can do so, speaking for myself, is being in the political realm. And
how do you feel? Yeah, we'll take your temperature level before. Especially, my Lord, I'm humbled by this baptism of fire.
And you can't help but smile. Those were some of the moments that Sir John Kojo Osuefriye shared with us. We will remember him with pain, but like the majority leader said, let us use his memory to remind ourselves that COVID-19 is real. It's no joke. And speaking of the coronavirus pandemic, it may have spawned another ailment, misinformation. Today, we take you to the Eastern Regional community of Domiabra, where residents believe people living in cities are the ones at risk of contracting the dreaded coronavirus. JoyNews' Requisite visited the community and has today's episode in our Combating Fake News project.
Most of Ghana's COVID-19 cases have so far been recorded in Accra, Tema, Kumasi and other cities, perhaps due to the huge number of persons living in close proximity and the hive in economic activities. At Tomiabra in the New Abrim district of the Eastern region, a predominantly farming community, residents are milling to and fro. There's total disregard for all COVID-19 protocols. Both the young and old here don't see the need to put on face masks. They believe the virus is miles away from where they live.
That's
27-year-old Vivian Asamoah, a mother of two. She refuses to wear the face masks anytime she's in the community because she believes all persons in the community are familiar with each other.
We only wear the face mask when traveling. We know each other here. That is the reason why we don't put on our mask when we go out.
Francis Tay is a palm wine tapper and lives here. He says he will only put on the face mask when he's traveling to Kumasi or Accra.
I can't put on a face mask when I'm in the community. It's impossible. I will only wear it when I'm traveling to the big cities because there is a high risk of contracting it there.
But misinformation could be dangerous in times of pandemics. Are people living in rural areas out of the woods? We have been speaking to Professor Alfred Yosen of the University of Ghana Medical School.
Communities that are far away from the cities, that are not close to major towns, are still not, as we will say, immune from acquiring the infection. It used to be that it started in Accra and then Kumasi, Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Obuasi, and then it went to other regions. And then we stayed around 10, 11 regions. But currently, almost every region has recorded a case, which means that the pandemic is continuing to spread into communities. And therefore, if you are in a community and you think because we are a close community, we know each other, everybody knows every other person, and therefore when we are within this community we are not going to wear the masks. It is not advisable to do that. So long as you are outside and you are interacting with other members of the community, you need to protect yourself.
Stay safe, protect yourself by adhering to all precautionary measures aimed at stemming the spread of COVID-19. Henry Kwesibedi's reports for JoyNews.
So this is just a reminder that COVID-19 is real and is not limited to cities. Now, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture says it has put in place measures to provide a stable food supply chain as the country fights the global pandemic. At a media briefing today, Deputy Director at the Ministry, Josephine Kwegwin, mentioned, among others, strengthening food production programs, including or improving extension delivery and enhancing access to finance for crop and livestock producers as well as processors. Josephine Kwegwin was confident these would mitigate the effect of COVID-19 on the agriculture sector, as well as ensure that there is no food deficit in the country. Evelyn Arthur has more.
COVID-19 has had a negative impact not only on the health sector, but also on every aspect of the economy. Deputy Agric Minister says the agric sector is grappling with food availability, food price stability, and utilization. In a meeting with stakeholders Wednesday, the Deputy Director outlined measures her office is taking to minimize the impact of the situation on farmers and consumers. She spoke on the theme, anchoring Ghana's post-COVID recovery on agriculture, investing in smallholder farmers for food security and growth.
We are also aiming at giving them affordable financing. So, for example, our OVCF projects, the interest rate was 18. And according to my director, she informed me yesterday that they are having discussions so that the interest rate will be reduced to about 10 to make it more affordable to agribusinesses. So these are some of the initiatives being put in place to ensure that all actors have access to finance. So the fourth is promoting production of high-value vegetables, and give support to a number of them together, like hatcheries, not just one, but they come as a team of value chain actors to get the support so that they could do the production. So we are focusing on establishing processing plants, local hatcheries, supporting feed millers, and also giving out credit in kind for small ruminants to some of our...
General Secretary of the Agriculture Union of the TUC, Edward Karewe, asked government to help deal with challenges of land management for farmers.
So land management in this country is poor, and as we all know, that is the reason why every space is used for land building, when in the actual fact there are some of these lands that are very suitable for agricultural purpose. We can designate those ones aside for that purpose, and then those lands that are not suitable for agricultural purpose, use them for estate development.
Some of the farmers who spoke to JoyNews expressed worry about the development and called on government to intervene.
As a small-scale farmers, we need machine to till our lands and other things. But it comes to a point that we can't afford. And we are saying that though government brought the machine on a subsidy price, but we cannot afford it. And I'm saying that if the government can, we are in group. If the government can make it that we pay 10% of the machine, then he give it to us, then the rest we pay by installment, I think it will help us a lot.
Evelyn Arthur's report for JoyNews.
Now, before we go, welcome back. It's still live on the Pulse here on the JoyNews channel. It's now time for us to talk about an exciting new project we're having on Joy Prime TV. You know of Joy Prime TV on the multi-TV Digibox and on DSTV and on satellite television. Channel manager Pakwesi Akom is joining us via Zoom to take us through what these new programs are. Pakwesi, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Great. I'm doing well, you know. Started the day on Prime Morning, and we are still here. So I know there's something big coming on Joy Prime. In fact, 4 huge projects. Take us through them.
Okay, so you already said that, but there are more than 4 actually. This month we are launching a couple of programs, and it's based on our promise we made to our audiences. Aside that, it's part of trying to diversify so that people would have different contents in terms of different genres and enjoy us as a brand. So the first one I want to talk about is roving. And roving gives our audiences the opportunity to actually share their opinions in terms of issues concerning them in their communities. So it's time for us to also let them own the channel. We have roving reporters across the whole Ghana who will be bringing us stories that our audiences want to tell. And so that's about roving. And then Business Connect is a business program that allows people to learn more about their businesses, how to grow your business, how to be able to handle your business. And in these times, for instance, we know a lot of businesses are shutting down and all that, but others are still running. How is this possible? So bring somebody like Inshira Ado, who will connect you to the big guys behind the businesses that we all appreciate. And then we get to entertainment. These two are quite serious, in terms of our branding. But we get to entertainment where we have opinions, as you rightly said. Opinions brings together all the stars, the favorite personalities you want to see, from sports to showbiz, in terms of music, in terms of the movie industry. Everybody that matters in terms of showbiz, we bring them together and they share their opinions on issues concerning us, relationship issues, politics, religion, countless. And it's going to be handled by our own beautiful, ever beautiful, lady we call Sally Gunn, And then we have to actually bring the stress down after, hard days work. I mean, if you like, weeks from Monday, Tuesday up to Friday, Saturday. We want to just tone the stress down. So we have this program called Boardroom that will blow your mind with, I mean, in Tata, with Clemento Suarez and all the guys on board, called the Boardroom. If you want to laugh and laugh and laugh, this is the time to watch TV with us. Aside that one, then we have On the Record. That's the fifth one. On the Record deals with all the big names behind the big stories. And that takes you through politics, through information, through education, countless as well. And Daniel, you are the one on that seat, right?
Really? Me? Interesting.
Yes, it's you.
Yes, I am. Look, PK, it's so exciting hearing about all the new things coming on Joy Prime TV. It's been an exciting project so far. We can't wait to see what's coming next. And it's good stuff. But do we have any idea what time these programs are rolling out?
Okay, so very soon these programs, at the moment, we are actually showing the coming soon promos. We'll roll out the dates from Monday for people to know where to stick glued to their sets in terms of a particular genre. And we are hoping that we will excite our audiences, because without them, we are not alive. I want to take this opportunity also to thank all my channel coordinators, Gladys, to thank my channel executive, Nana Asiru, and also to thank you, Daniel, and all the team that have been working so well behind Joy Prime. One thing that I cannot forget is the fact that weekends will be so exciting. So this weekend, for instance, we have the Emmy Awards at 8 p.m. on Saturday, and then on Sunday, we top it up with Joy Prime Presents, which celebrates our stars, you know. So Daniel, it's not going to be easy at all on Joy Prime this month. And let me say hi to my boss, Abdullah Awudu, and the head of production who's been working so hard, Eunice Foley, and all the team. I want to also say hi to the sports team, from Nathaniel down to all the guys on the morning show. I mean, we appreciate all of it.
Right. We appreciate you too. Thank you. And I can't wait to watch the Emmy Awards on Saturday. And I understand this Sunday's Joy Prime Presents is featuring Akwabua.
For sure.
Right.
It's going to rock our homes.
Thank you so much, Pakwisi Akon, for joining us. Channel manager for Joy Prime Television. Have a good day. Right. So this is where... Right, it's now time for us to have some showbiz in our lives today. And so we are now going for Let's Talk Showbiz here on The Pulse. But remember, if you want more stories, go on myjoyonline.com. That's it from us here on The Pulse. My name is Daniel Dazi. Many thanks to my great production team. I just want to say a very good afternoon to MFA Dradosi, Michaelina Stamplos. She has a lot of names, that young lady. And Poma, everyone, have a good day.